Okay, good morning again. Let's turn in our Bibles to the book of Mark, chapter 8. We'll be going through first 21 verses here. So, I'm going to start off with the warning. You got to watch out for all those religious people. And I say that as a pastor, but it's just there's so many people who will say they're religious and they'll talk all these great things, but they won't do it with the way they walk. The people who say they're really close to God. Well, if they're close to God, they don't have to try to convince you of it. You'll just know it. But there are so many people out there who want you to hold them up in a special light in your mind. But yet they're in darkness. And so these are the type of people like the Pharisees that Jesus is dealing with in this passage. And we'll get to that. But before we get to that, let's have a meal with them. Verse 1 says, "In those days the multitude being very great and having nothing to eat, Jesus called his disciples to him and said to them." So in that day, he was teaching out there, and this is the Decapolis region to the east of the Sea of Galilee, mostly Gentiles. Remember where he healed the demoniac, and the demoniac wanted to come with him on the boat, and Jesus says, "No, go tell all your friends what happened." And so he went and told them, and Jesus left. Now Jesus is back, and now they're all here. And people from far away are here too. And so Jesus sees that there's a great multitude, and there's nothing to eat. And then he calls his disciples to him, and he says, verse 2, "I have compassion on the multitude, because they have now continued with me 3 days and have nothing to eat." It's like, man, these guys are hungry. Maybe they brought food with them initially, but they didn't plan on a 3-day weekend conference. How cool was this conference? 3 days with Jesus as him teaching? You know, no one's going away to get food. They ate everything that they have, and now they're done with their supplies. And they're still sitting there listening to Jesus because his word is so good. And I'd sign me up for that one. Verse 3 says, "And if I send them away hungry to their own houses, they will faint on the way, for some of them have come from afar." Jesus is worried, he's concerned. And I love that he's concerned about the least of these, people who traveled far to see him. He cares about everybody. It's not just the rich, it's just not the powerful. He cares about everybody. And so he's like, I want to feed them. And I have that personal feeling in my life, you know, it's just like, hey, it's great to feed people. It's great to sit down and eat with people. This is why we do so much food here at Calvary Chapel. Because I like that we eat together and that we enjoy each other's company together. And Jesus wants to do the same thing with these guys. So the disciples, verse 4 say, the disciples answered them and said, "How can one satisfy these people with bread here in the wilderness?" Now, are they saying like, "I got nothing, Jesus"? You say, "Feed them." I don't know what to feed them. Or are they saying, "Hey, I remember last time you fed them." Remember when Jesus fed the 5,000? That was like 6 months before this time, because it was in the spring and this is in the fall. And so I kind of wonder if they were like, "What are you looking at us for? I don't know what to do." Or if they were like, "Well, you did it last time, you're going to do it this time." But you can't just ask, "Hey, Jesus, can you multiply the bread again?" You know, it's kind of rude. So they just kind of state their problem. This sounds great, but I don't know where we're going to find enough bread. Remember when Jesus was in Cana at that wedding and his mom came to him? And did she say, "Hey, Jesus, I need you to turn the water into wine"? No, she didn't say that. She just said, "Hey, they ran out of the wine." And he says, "What do you want me to do about it, woman?" And she just smiles and turns to the servants and say, "Hey, just do whatever he says." Was she asking? Yeah. Did she ask? No. She just presenting the problem, knowing that he was going to fulfill it. So I wonder if the disciples were doing the same thing. Jesus says, "Hey, we need to feed these guys." And they're like, "That's great, but we don't have enough bread." Eh? So he asked them, verse 5, "How many loaves do you have?" And they said 7. Like, they don't have to go, "Hold on a minute, let's go mob a kid and take his lunch." Right? Maybe they did that already. They knew this was coming. It's like, oh, the people are getting hungry. They've been with them 3 days. They're going to want to eat something. Jesus is not going to send them away hungry. We tried that last time. He's going to want to feed them, but we don't have any bread. So, hey, little kid, what do you got in your lunchbox? You know, maybe they did that already because as soon as he asked, well, how many loaves do you have? They're like 7. And they're not saying, but what is that among so many? They know what he's going to do. He did it already. They didn't forget. Verse 6, so he commanded the multitude to sit down on the ground, and he took the 7 loaves and gave thanks. He broke them and gave them to his disciples to set before them, and they set them before the multitude. Same thing. Have everybody sit down. And I wonder if they sat down like in their villages, if they sat down with people they didn't know. But they sat down to eat, expecting food. No food trucks are coming. Just Jesus and his 7 loaves. And then he gave thanks for the loaves, and he broke them and gave them to his disciples. The disciples handed them out. Jesus did what only he could do to feed the people. And the disciples only did what they could to feed the people. But together they worked to feed the people. God is good. And he uses us. And there's stuff that you can do, and there's stuff that you can't do. So don't try to do the stuff that you can't do. Let Jesus handle that. But the stuff that you can do that for Jesus. Does he need the disciples' help? No, he could have invented drones, I'm sure, and had the drones deliver the food. Or just gave each group a little crumb and say, as long as you keep breaking this, it's going to come. He could have done that too, but he wanted to use his disciples to distribute his food to the people the same way that God uses his pastors to distribute his word to the people. Do you have the word yourselves? Absolutely you do. You have your own Bibles. Can you read it on your own? Yes, you can. Can you understand it on your own? Yes, you can. Can you do it on your own? Of course you can. But the way he's using us is he's using us to come together and to talk about it, one to another. And I pray, Lord, I pray with that as you go from here to lunch afterwards or home afterwards, that God's word would still be on your heart, and it'd still be on your mind, and it would still be on your lips as you talk to each other about the different things that God has spoken to you through the passage this morning. Verse 7 says, and they also had a few fish. Having blessed them, he had set them also before them. So I wonder if it's like, you know what will go really good with this bread? Fish. I got some fish. We'll get that to Jesus. We need him to have it so that we can all have fish. And so the thing is, like, whatever we have, we get to Jesus, and Jesus uses it well. So what do you have? Or do you have talent? Do you have a skill that you can do? Bring it to Jesus. And you know what he's going to do is he's going to say, hey, so-and-so needs help in that very area. And he'll put you together. And that's another good reason to come to church, because sometimes you're the one who needs help. It's like, I need someone who knows how to make electricity come out of the holes in the wall. And then and it's like, but I don't know how to do that. It's not working. And then God has somebody else in the congregation who does know how to do that. And it just puts you together. Sometimes you just need someone to talk to. Someone who will listen to you and not like tell you what to do, but just listen to you. You may not get that at home, especially if you live by yourself. And this culture isolates people more and more than we've ever had before, right? If you can get a job where you can work from home on your computer, and there are many of them out there, you don't have to leave your house ever. You can order food and have it delivered to you. You can order groceries and have it delivered to you. Those delivery people can just drop it off in front of the door and leave, and you can get it out. You'll never have to put on pants. You can live your whole life without wearing pants in this culture and never have to talk to or see a person face to face. Now, I'm not saying this is a goal. Definitely not. Some of you are like, oh, that sounds wonderful. I hate wearing pants. But the society has made it possible so that people could isolate themselves completely. And I've never met someone who has been isolated who's been better off for it. Everyone who has isolated themselves for one reason or another suffers from it. And the weird thing about isolation is people get to a place where they don't talk to people, and then when they do have the opportunity to talk to people, they don't kind of want to. They haven't left the house for a long time, and now they don't want to leave the house. And they get stuck and only comfortable in the little cage that they've made themselves. And it's hard. And it's really hard on them. And so I don't let the Lord do that, or don't let the world do that to you. Let the Lord lead you to the place of fellowship like this. It is so important that we meet. It is so important that we gather in person. He's like, well, I could do church online. It's like, yeah, you could do church online. And people says, well, I'll just watch you from home. And I'm thinking, well, if you're going to be home, why are you watching me? You could choose any Bible teacher that, in the world to watch, and you can pick any passage that you want. I mean, the internet has everything so available. It's like, oh, I want to watch Chuck Smith teach on Psalms 50. You can do that, like right now. It's like, oh, I want to hear Greg Laurie teach on Revelation 6. You could do that too. Like whoever you pick, like I want to listen to this teacher teach on this passage. It's all there available at your fingertips. You can have it right now. Yet you come to church. Because church is not just about the teaching that you're hearing. Church is about the body that you're a part of. You don't feel like you're a part of the body when you're just watching online, because you're not. You feel like you're a part of the body when you are here talking amongst the people, but when you're serving. Find a place where you can serve. You're like, oh, I can't do anything. I don't know anything. It's like they say that they need people to help upstairs or play instruments up here. I don't know how to do any of that stuff. It's like, well, can you move chairs and tables? Can you push a broom around? Like, just stay after and start cleaning up. And just help anywhere. You see something that needs to be done, and it's like, okay, then I'm just going to take care of that. When I first went to the Shoreline Calvary Chapel back in 2001 with Pastor Tony, I noticed he didn't have a drummer on stage. I'm like, I could play hand drums. And the truth was I couldn't play hand drums. I just thought I could play hand drums because I didn't know any better. But he said, well, usually I have people wait 6 months or so. You've only been coming to church about a month. So why don't you just start with helping set up chairs before service? Because it was the Vets Hall, so we had to set chairs up. And afterwards we had to take them down. So I started coming every week early, starting setting up chairs and taking them down, and it was wonderful. And I got to know such a good group of guys who came to help. They all had servants' hearts because we were all doing the same thing. And guys, when we work together, we connect better. Girls have to do something called talking. It helps them somehow. Guys, it doesn't work for us. You get guys together, and say, all right, let's talk. So, what'd you do yesterday? It just gets weird and awkward. But if we're working on something together, man, that's easy. And we come out of that easy. And you go home and tell your wife, oh, yeah, I hung out with, so-and-so all day. It was great, fantastic. And then she starts asking questions about him. It's like, well, what's his wife's name? Oh, I didn't ask that. How many kids does he have? Didn't ask that either. I don't know. What's he do for a job? It's like, well, he's a mechanic or whatever. You got the job part down, but it's just like, what about this? What about that? It's like, I don't know. I don't know. I said, what'd you guys talk about? It's like, well, we really didn't talk much at all. We just worked on this project. It's like, but you guys are best friends now? Yeah, that's great. And we're like, I don't get that. And it's like, it's just the way it works. And then you come home and my wife's, spent time with her friends and she's talking about how much she likes her friend, and she can recount like the entire conversation that they had. I don't know how she does it. I can't remember the conversation I had 2 seconds ago. And she can recount like the entire conversation. She said this, and I said this, and she said this, and I said this. And it's just like, but did you do anything? No, we just sat and talked. For 3 hours, you just sat and talked? It's like, yeah, it was great. It's just like, there's a disconnect. We don't work the same way. And it's fine. I'm not saying one way is better than the other. It's just different. But we have to find a way to be a part of God's body. We have to find a way to connect. That's why the women's events, there's ample times to talk. There is, because that's how women connect with each other, and that's how they connect well. And with guys, we're going to work on a workday project sometime soon. I don't know. We got something we're going to do. But we're going to get together and we're going to work on stuff, and we're going to be a part of the body and serve one another together. But there's a lot of service stuff that we can do every week. helping take care of the church on Saturdays is a wonderful thing to do. So if you want to come by on Saturday mornings, that'd be great. Staying after to help clean up on Sundays after lunch is good. Thursdays especially, because we come straight into here from dinner, and so having extra hands to have that done soon, so that those who are cleaning can come in the study would be wonderful. But find a place to serve. Find a place to be a part of the body. Find a place where you're not just receiving from the fellowship, but you're interacting with the fellowship, because that's what a family does. The ones at home who don't contribute to the household are babies. But as the kids grow up, they start doing chores, right, Avery? They start doing chores and they start helping out around the house. And then eventually, when they are late in teenage years, they know how to do all of the chores, because soon they're going to have to go out and get their own houses, and they're going to have to know how to do everything. And so in the same way, if you're a spiritual baby, then just come be a baby. Just come enjoy the fellowship and enjoy this. But if you are maturing as a Christian, then God's calling you to do some work. And I don't know what that is, and it doesn't matter to me what it is, as long as you're doing something. But serve in some way. Serve God and serve his people. Verse 8. So they ate and were filled, and they took up 7 large baskets of leftover fragments. Now, when you think of baskets, don't think of like a kid's Easter basket. Think of more like a hamper laundry basket, but a large hamper laundry basket. This is the same word in Greek that is used for this basket, and I didn't write down because I don't like trying to say foreign words if I don't have to. But it's the same word that's used in Acts chapter 9 when Paul was let down from the wall of Damascus in the basket. Right? So this basket's big enough to carry a Paul, however big Paul was. Even if he was a wee little man like Zacchaeus, it still would have been a big basket. And there were 7 full large baskets of leftover fragments. I mean, all of the 7 loaves of bread would have been fit in the one with space left over. When God gives, he gives abundantly. And we have no lack. Everybody was full. Nobody could eat anymore. And then they were supposed to walk home after that somehow. I don't know. Verses 9 and 10 say, Now those who had eaten were about 4,000, and he sent them away, immediately got into a boat with his disciples, and came to the region of Dalmanthua. 4,000 people this time, not 5,000. First time was 5,000 with 5 loaves and 2 fish. This time it's 4,000 with 7 and a few fish. Was this a lesser miracle or a bigger miracle? Doesn't matter. It was still a miracle of the Lord. And there's a lot of things that we just like to compare. Like, oh, this is better than this. This is the best. Top 10, best 3. Not for the Lord. Is it any particular miracle harder for God than the other? I don't think any miracle is hard for him at all. I think it's all super easy. You know what's hard for us? It's hard for us to believe. It's hard for us to trust. Trusting that which we cannot see. And some people said, well, if God was just here physically and I could see him, then I believe him. If I could hear him, then I would obey him. And I would say, yeah, that's not true. Because whenever he did show up physically in the scriptures, and he spoke audibly from heaven, people didn't believe him. People didn't obey him. People didn't do what he said. And of all the miracles that they saw, they still didn't believe. Let's take a look at verse 11. Then the Pharisees came out and began to dispute with him, seeking from him a sign from heaven, testing him. They're like, hey, can you give us a sign? It's like, is feeding the 4,000 not enough of a sign for you? Is healing every sick person not enough of a sign for you? Every lame person, every blind person, every deaf person that's come to me, casting out every demon of every demon-possessed person that's come to me. Is that not enough of a sign for you? What kind of a sign do you want? Do we make a billboard saying, I am God? And it's a good thing I'm not Jesus. Because I said, okay, here's your sign. The next time you walk into your house, fire from heaven is going to come down and destroy you and it. See if they go home or not. Right? like, just wait till you get home, and then the sign will come. And it's just like, God is so much more loving than me. And you know how I know he's so loving? Because he lets the Pharisees live. I mean, think of all the stuff that they say about him. Think of all of the stuff that they do about him. They're trying to spread lies about him. They even have him killed, yet they go on to live long lives. I'd say happy, but I don't think they were happy. He doesn't kill them on the spot. He doesn't have them eaten by worms like Herod was. And they were his main antagonists this whole time. Like, that's mercy. They never repented, yet he still just lets them live. He doesn't just wipe them off. Because can you imagine if the Pharisees come and say, hey, can you give us a sign? And Jesus has fire come down from heaven and destroy them. I think the next person behind them wouldn't be so quick to ask him for a sign. And I go, okay, Jesus, I think I'll believe you now. He doesn't do that. He lets them revile him. He lets them say whatever they want, do whatever they want, and live. And you're like, but he's not in charge. He is in charge. He's God. He's in charge of everything. If the president was walking down the street with his Secret Service guys, I guess, and people started like throwing things at him and making fun of him, they'd get removed. If they were just saying things, maybe he'd let them go, but it's a safety thing if they're throwing things at him, so they'd get moved out of the way. Yet God came down and he let us kill him. And he let us kill him. There are so many times he could have escaped. So many times he could have left, just come into his own power and say, you know what, that's enough. I'm not playing this game anymore. But he let us kill him. And he didn't punish the ones who did it. At least not here. They got theirs later. But my point is, Jesus is so kind and so merciful, even at an attack just like this, seeking a sign from heaven, testing him. Verse 12, but he sighed deeply in his spirit. Can you just hear that sigh in your hearts? That disappointment, right? Like when you were a kid and you really messed up, and your mom and dad, or your mom and dad found out about it, they're like, oh, that's what I imagine it is. He says, why does this generation seek a sign? Surely I say to you, no sign shall be given this generation. He's like, I'm not giving you a sign. If all of this doesn't count as a sign to you, you're not getting anything else. In the book of Matthew, he says no sign will be given except for the sign of Jonah, but he doesn't say, Mark doesn't put that one in, probably because he doesn't expect his readers to know who Jonah is. Okay, so maybe that was an alert saying they found him? I don't know. It just comes in later. Yes. Okay. So he says, I'm not giving a sign. This is all you get. And he left them. Verse 13 and 14. And he left them, and getting into the boat again, departed to the other side. Now the disciples had forgotten to take bread, and they did not have more than one loaf with them in the boat. Right? So they get in the boat to leave again after he has his talk with the Pharisees. And Jesus is thinking about the Pharisees, and the disciples are like, oh, I forgot to grab bread. I'm going to be so hungry. We had 7 large baskets of bread, and I didn't grab one. And one of them's like, I grabbed one. Just the one, though. Like, I was walking by, and I just grabbed it and stuffed in my pocket. And they're like, well, can I have it? No, I want it. I want the bread. And then they stop arguing probably for a minute on who's going to be greatest, to who's going to get the bread. And then Jesus speaks up. And he charged them, saying, take heed, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the leaven of Herod. Well, what's he talking about, leaven of Pharisees and leaven of Herod? Leaven is always a picture of sin. Because what's leaven? Leaven is yeast. And what is yeast? When you make bread, you put yeast in, and yeast is technically a fungus. So when this fungus reproduces inside your bread loaf, it respirates carbon dioxide, and the carbon dioxide is what makes all the holes in your bread. And actually, it works well. It makes the bread taste delicious. The yeast all die when you cook it, so it's not like you're eating live fungus, because that would be weird. So you're eating dead fungus. That's a lot better, right? And so when you have bread that has all that space, all that hole in the middle, it's just the respiration from the yeast, and Jesus uses it as a picture of sin, because what does sin do? It reproduces and it just fills you full of hot air. It makes you look big and puffy and good, but it's not much of anything. And so he says, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of Herod. And if you look at the other passages that talk about the same thing, it's the Sadducees. And we think Herod was a Sadducee. So I want to talk a little bit about where the Pharisees and Sadducees came from. They came from way back when Israel was ruled over by the Greeks. After that one guy, Alexander the Great, came and took over everything. And he died, and his 4 generals took over, and then the one who was in charge of Syria, the Seleucids, were always fighting with the Ptolemies over in Egypt, and one of the Seleucids was this guy named Antiochus Epiphanes. He called himself that because it meant like he's the best. He's like God in human form. That's what Epiphanes means. And he hated Judaism, and he hated the Jews. And he promoted Greek culture, and if you would like shave your beard, because the Greeks like to shave, and you would start talking Greek, and you would act like a Greek even though you were Jewish, he would reward you with lands and with money and with wealth, and he would put you in position. He's the one who removed the high priest from his office and put in a high priest that paid him money. He says, okay, you're the high priest now. It's the first time the high priest office was bought, was under this guy. And so he was trying to reform Judaism to look and act just like all the other Greek cultures. And so the Sadducees were the group of people who did that. They did believe that the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible, were from God, but they didn't believe in a whole lot of stuff like angels and demons. They didn't believe in the resurrection. They thought once you died, that was it, which is why they were sad, you see. And so that they were called the Sadducees. The Pharisees were the counterculture movement to that. They're like, well, if you are going to shave your beards off, we are going to go big bushy beards. And we are going to wear Jewish clothing with huge tassels on them. And we're going to make the word that we put on our heads like humongous, the phylacteries. And they did all of that stuff. And Jesus says, neither. It's all leaven. It's all for a show of man. If it were today, the Sadducees would be Democrats and the Pharisees would be Republicans. The Pharisees were the conservative, back to the Bible bunch. The Sadducees were liberal, doing whatever feels right bunch. And Jesus says neither. Beware the leaven of the Pharisees and of Herod, meaning the Sadducees. And verse 16, they reasoned among themselves, saying, is it because we have no bread? Is he talking about the leaven of because did they poison the bread? Don't eat that now. They did something with the leaven in that bread, and it's going to poison us. And like they don't understand what Jesus is talking about. He's not talking about bread. Verse 17 and 18, but Jesus, being aware of it, said to them, why do you reason because you have no bread? Do you not yet perceive, nor understand? Is your heart still hardened? Having eyes, do you not see? And having ears, do you not hear? Do you not remember? It's like, what's going on with you guys? You guys are so focused on this physical thing that you are completely missing out on the spiritual meaning behind it. Verse 19, he reminds them, when I broke 5 loaves for 5,000, how many basketfuls of full fragments did you take up? They said to him, 12. Also, when I broke up the 7, verse 20, when I broke up the 7 for 4,000, how many large baskets of full fragments did you take up? They said 7. And verse 21, so he said to them, how is it that you do not understand? If you're worried about food, did you not see I fed 5,000 people and then 4,000 people and we still had leftovers? Do you think I can't feed 12 guys with 1 loaf of bread? It's not about the food. We also tend to get focused on the physical stuff. We have lots of physical stuff we got to do. We got houses to take care of, cars to take care of, animals and pets to take care of. Our family needs to be taken care of. Our church building needs to be taken care of. There's a lot of physical things that will take up hours and hours of your day, cause you to lose sleep at night. And Jesus says that stuff's not as important as you think. It's about the spiritual stuff. It's about following God and doing what is right. And if you spend the time seeking after the Lord, he will take care of all the physical stuff. The dishes in the sink will get done, not by little elves who come do it in the middle of the night. It'll be done by you still, but you'll have more energy and you'll be more focused to do it because you have a greater relationship with God. Anything that you do that is hard in your life will be easier if you have a greater relationship with God. He will just empower you to do it. But if you're focused on the physical stuff so much that you're putting off all of your relationship with God, because I got to take care of all of this stuff first, then that stuff's never going to end. And you're never going to get to sitting down and reading the Bible with the Lord. Start with sitting down and reading the Bible with the Lord. Start with your relationship with God. And he will empower you to take care of all of the physical things that need to get done. And you'll have extra time left over. How does that work? How did Jesus multiply the bread? It'll be the same thing. Let's pray. My Lord Jesus, you are an amazing God. Thank you so much for this time that we can open up your word and understand it, Lord. I pray that you would focus our minds on the spiritual things, that we would focus on what is really important, Jesus. Having a relationship with you and having a relationship with others. That we would show your love in every interaction that we have. That we would understand your love more and more as we seek your face. That we would be your children and that you would be our God. If there's anyone in here who has not yet given his or her life to Christ, pray this prayer with me. Dear Jesus, I'm a sinner. And I want to be yours, Jesus. I know I deserve to die on the cross, but you died for me. You took my cross and died on it, and I want to live for you. You rose again on the third day, Jesus. I know you did. And you asked me if I will be yours. And I want to say yes to you, Jesus, for the first time, yes. That I could be your child and you would be my God. And I would give myself to you forever and ever. And in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.